Hi, this is Kevin Fitzpatrick from the Cnesta Group. I want to take a different approach today and not focus on the same old things around search and career transition and things like that, and take a more personal approach. And if I can, those of you that know me know that I am a lifelong, although not quite as much these days, person dedicated to the martial arts and learning and the philosophies behind that. Not know that how good I ever became or that I ever reached the level of expertise that I would have liked. And given the fact that my knees are shot and I had to get replacements last year, has me moving over to transitioning to Tai Chi, which I hope to begin in the month of May, as my work schedule will provide. But what I really want to focus on now is personal. Something I had to learn through my long corporate journey of always driving, always churning, being caught on that hamster wheel to try and get to success. And I came to realize that if I can quote what some of you may not consider, but I consider Bruce Lee an extraordinary philosopher. And one of the things he said that really stuck to me, which I've tried to live as I've gotten later in my career and moved on and changed my direction a little bit, is frankly, simplicity is the key to brilliance. It is not about always focusing on the daily increase, especially when it comes to family. It's focusing on the daily decrease, eliminating or hacking away at everything that gets in the way, everything that is non-essential, to obtain your potential or to be more Eastern in my thought, enlightenment, specifically around being genuine and keeping it simple. And where that is most important is family. Just on a personal note, I've been married twice. My first marriage ended, unfortunately, and I had 3 daughters. I got remarried, probably the best decision I've ever made. And proving God has a sense of humor, I have a 4th daughter. So I came to describe my daughters as give me, buy me, take me, and all of the above. And through that, all of which applies, by the way, and in each of my journeys with each of my 4 girls, I can have very specific examples where all of that applies. I have a great relationship with all 4 of them. I've been blessed thus far with 5 grandchildren. In fact, today I'm at my daughter's house watching 2 of our grandchildren. Kim and I are here as my daughter and her husband are on a trip with his family down in the British Virgin Islands for a week. So it doesn't get any better than that. But one of the things I really want to talk about is it's all about the journey. And I can tell you a couple of examples. For probably 4 years, I traveled a great deal. Probably I spent more time out of the United States than in, and a lot of people don't realize that. And the toughest part of that travel was missing my girls. And I was one of those crazy people that I would minimize my time away from home. As an example, I would have board meetings in London on a Monday afternoon, and I would fly out Sunday evening, attend the board, make my presentation, and hop on a flight Monday night and get back home to my house by midnight. It's kind of crazy. Kind of a crazy schedule. I did it all the time, but I knew that I couldn't be genuine. I couldn't keep it simple if I stayed away from home. And my daughters would tell you that, because they were very young at the time, I stayed awake probably more than I should have, and I would agree. My longest trip never lasted more than 5 days. And that was by design. And that was one of my many trips to Hong Kong and Singapore, which I always did in tandem with one another. And a great trip to talk about there when you talk about keeping it genuine, being real, and stop focusing on the increase and trying to eliminate obstacles. For my 3rd daughter, Kara, I actually coached softball for 7 seasons. I umpired for 1 season. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes in my life. That was just bloody awful. Said, however, and my daughter would probably agree with that statement. But I had promised it was opening day coming, and I actually was in Asia. And I made a commitment that I would make it to opening day. And I was the team manager, and our team was called the Yankees. Nothing against the Phillies, but that was the team we were assigned. And we were the Yankees for 5 of the 7 years that I coached. And prior to that, we were lower level teams. We were the Bears 1 year. and the White Sox another. And, so I'm in Singapore dealing with a significant issue we had. And then I had a problem in Hong Kong, and I had to get back to Lower Providence outside of Philadelphia. And so I had booked an around the world ticket, because traveling, those of you that do travel internationally, always going one direction is much easier on your body. So I thought, okay, I'm going to make this work. So I left Singapore, popped into Hong Kong, hopped on Cathay Pacific, and flew home. Flew into the UK, ran into Harrods in the airport because I didn't have a golf shirt. So I bought a Harrods shirt, white golf shirt, to wear with my khaki plated shorts to go with softball back in the day. Hopped in the British Airways club, took a shower, changed, hopped on a plane, landed in Philadelphia. And I made it to the ball field after 31 hours of travel at the bottom of the first inning. I coached. We went through. We won the game. I stood there. The girls were happy. I was happy. I kept my commitment. I sat in the stands, the back of the stands. My next daughter was playing the next game. I probably fell asleep. I wasn't coaching, but I managed to sleep through more than half that game until I woke up and realized it said, hey, great game. It was wonderful. And they won that game also. But the message there is not that so much as it is keeping it simple. Everything you have to go through to be there for your family. It's the little things that count. The fact that I had to travel like I traveled, like a maniac, quite frankly, to get there. That's not the message. The message is I made a commitment and I kept it. A few minutes late, but I kept it. And the real issue is, if we get back to Bruce Lee, is simplicity is the key to brilliance. It was that simple task, that simple commitment, and keeping that commitment that allowed me to be genuine as a dad and to move forward. Fast forward, as my daughters got older, did everything I possibly could to make it to their events. Didn't make it to all of them, and they're the ones that I regret. But each of us, that as we're moving forward in our career, keep it genuine. Remember, it's not about increasing. It's not about increasing and doing everything we have to do to get that next $5,000 or $10,000 in our paycheck, or to get to that next position or next two positions, going up that corporate ladder, or even signing the next key client. It's about making the time for your family and never forgetting that and trying to be there, because you never get that time back. You know, recently, my daughters are all grown. And a few years ago, I guess it's 3 years now, I had the pleasure of walking my fourth daughter down the aisle. And that daughter, Emma, is actually my adopted daughter. She was Kim's daughter. And it became very, very important to me as we built a blended family that she knew that I would never leave. So when I adopted Emma being very direct, when I asked her if it would be okay if I adopted her, and we waited till she was over 18 to make it not an issue for anyone. And Emma's response to me was, well, you ruined Father's Day. I'm like, what do you mean? And she had spoken to her mom about presenting me with adoption papers on Father's Day. So being the emotional guy that I am, of course I cried, shed a tear. And we went through with the adoption. It wasn't cheap. And I said to her, so aren't you glad that I asked you? And my wife said to me, she said, that's okay. I would have written a check to pay for it anyway. So it's little things like that that really make a difference, And they're the things that you can't get back. Back in a couple of other stories, if I may go back in 2008, when Kara, my third daughter, was in college, and my second daughter, Kristen, was in college as well, and my oldest daughter, Caitlin, was in the Peace Corps, I moved to New Bloomfield. Kim and I bought a house together, and I moved without any safety net. I had a partner, and we had started a company called Change Management. And those of you may recall, Change Management, the economy tanked in late 08, 09, and our company exploded. We lost all of our contracts in less than 90 days because we didn't have particular contract provisions that protected us. And so for the second time in my life, I lost everything. No matter how hard you work, no matter what you do, it doesn't matter because it's just stuff. It's just money. It's just things. But what I didn't lose and what I cherished and what I relied on completely during that period of my life was my family. My wife, Kim, and my 4 daughters. And to get through that, interestingly, my father, and it sounds like I'm digressing, but I'm not. My father had given me a Hamilton Ventura watch, the first electric watch ever made in 1957. Now, he had given that watch to me when I was 32 years old. Here I was married in a pretty senior HR position in General Electric, and my dad said to me, "You're finally responsible enough to have this watch." Well, the truth behind the story was it actually didn't work. And he couldn't get it to work, so he gave it to me. And I wound up finding someone and getting it fixed, and I wore it virtually every day. It was my most prized possession that I had. And it was the one thing that my dad gave me. And when the company tanked, I had a mortgage. I had college tuition to pay for. So I went to a pawnbroker in Harrisburg, and I hocked my dad's watch. And I hocked a gold money clip. I have a thing for watches, Cartier money clip with a watch in the middle that had been owned by the founder of Litz Brothers. And hocking those 2 pieces allowed me to pay my mortgage and to make a tuition payment for my daughter to stay in college. One of the hardest things I had to do, but at the end of the day, once again, keep it real, keep it simple. It's just stuff. So fast forward about, I want to say now, 2018, my daughter Kara gets married. She's in Buffalo. And a couple of nights before she got married, now we'd been on a through journey. I had started 3 companies, 2 of which still exist. My former partner, Ed McBride, awesome guy, runs Transition Partners Group right now, still does it, and he's killing it. He does a phenomenal job. And I run the Cnesta Group. And Ed and I are still friends. He's one of the best people I've ever met. Just as a side note, a shout out to Ed, wonderful guy with a wonderful process. But fast forward with Kara gets married in 2018. And a couple of days before she got married, she hands me a box, she and her future husband, Graham. And what she hands me is an exact replica, not a replica, but an original, another Hamilton Ventura watch. Exactly the same watch my father gave me that I had to hock to pay her tuition and my mortgage. I had to leave the room. It is one of the most touching things I had ever experienced in my life. If I sit here and talk about it more, I might even shed a tear on this podcast. But again, that's just an example of, and she found that watch through a company down in Texas called Unwind in Time. Shout out to Jared, where he does original Hamilton watches, which are phenomenal watches. Again, I have a thing for them. But it emphasized again that no matter what life brings you, no matter what corporate choice or career choice you make, no matter what challenge that presents to you, it's those relationships, whether it's with your significant other, your good friends, your children, quite frankly, that's all that really matters. The rest of it's just stuff. And when I made a decision to launch the Cnesta Group 12 years ago, I did so again with a net. No contracts. I walked away from another firm, great firm. I had learned everything I needed to learn, I thought, to launch a company. Now, over the 12 years, I've learned many lessons. But with Kim's support, I launched the Cnesta Group. I walked away from steady income, steady contracts, steady clients to launch an entirely new company with an entirely new approach. And I was able to do that because my family said to me, go for it. You're not happy working for somebody else. You have a vision. You have to try and make that vision. The only requirement we have for you is to keep it real. And I remember that every single day when I open my laptop and get to work. Keep it real. Keep it genuine. Simplicity, again, is the key to brilliance. It's not about the daily increase. It's about eliminating the things that get in your way and focusing on a commitment that you make, whatever drive you have, and focus on family, focus on your personal development, focus on your continual self-improvement. And yes, you have a living to make. That's always going to be there. But remember what's important. And if you really want to dive in and realize your fullest potential, always remember what matters most. And if you ever forget that, look in the mirror, say, who am I? What am I going to do today? And how am I going to make a difference for everyone I meet and for my family? And you know what? How am I going to make a difference for myself so I can get better tomorrow and do it even better than I did today?